Jujutsu Kaisen sequel has dropped banger after banger, as Chapter 17 revealed Rika's return and Tsurigi looking more insane than ever. But that's not all. More Yuji Itadori hype has been dropped. We see him speaking to Yuta's son, and we literally outright are told he's on another level of strength. But Gege doesn't stop cooking, because the lore we learn about Jujutsu Society, it's totally messed up and peak. Everyone in this world carries a curse on their shoulders and dies with regrets. Chapter 17 opens up with laying that all down about Yuta's own family. Yuta and Maki smashed with their son Iori being born in 2031. He is a spitting image of Yuta and ended up marrying a woman named Mifuyu. Mifuyu is the same woman that appears in chapter 1, who told Yuka at age 10 that she can't have Rika's ring despite Yuta wishing for her to have it, instead giving it to Tsurigi, telling him what he wants is irrelevant. Mifuyu married into the Gojo and Zenin family, following their decisions on who is best suited to inherit Rika's power. This set the seed for Tsurigi's motivation to become strong, to prove the clans wrong that he doesn't need it. Now, a lot of us were angry that she's an idiot, but with chapter 17 we understand a lot more, because Mifuyu was left alone with Tsurigi and Yuka, as their father left them as soon as she was born. As a result, this explains why our MCs cling so hard to their grandparents and want to be like them, as they admit in chapter 2. Maki and Yuta had to step in to give them a real childhood and train them, filling the void their father left behind. But why exactly did Iori leave? Well, chapter 17 reveals that Tsurigi was curious to know as well. He wanted to know what kind of person his father was. Yuta and Maki avoided the subject, but he secretly went around asking members of the Gojo clan. Iori was a serious and diligent person, but that backfired. He was chasing a standard he could never reach. Bro was basically a power scaler, and he dived so deep into it, he said, oh shit, wait a second, we're weak as hell and our generation is cooked. None of us are special grades. So compared to the generation before him, he felt weak. How could they live up to legends like his parents, Yuji, or even Satoru Gojo? And then his power scaling didn't stop. When compared to the sorcerers beneath him and under his wing, he felt responsible. Sorcerers are only getting weaker, which is widening the problem against stronger curses. What if another Sukuna appears and they can't deal with it? And that pressure turned him into a man who started breaking down mentally. But before he became a deadbeat and left the sorcerer world behind, he met Yuji Itadori. Iori was lashing out at Yuji about his problem, but our goat said it doesn't matter. This leads to speculation from Tsurigi that his father leaving after Yuka's birth must have something to do with power, as Tsurigi was heavily restricted, but Yuka was somehow born with the 10 shadows. However, he ponders this huge question: why didn't he just leave after his birth? It must have something to do with the presence or absence of techniques within them. Tsurigi believed that his father must have felt his role as a sorcerer was complete, but the argument with Yuji, well, it goes a lot deeper. For instance, what if Iori tampered with Yuka and is actually the cause of her brain cancer? We know in the sequel, Mahito still exists and appeared in chapter 7. He's waiting on the other side for Yuji, or from what we can tell, someone in particular. Mahito preys on human insecurities to accommodate his goals to the point where his victims go against any common sense. But you may be wondering, how can Mahito even be contacted? Well, there is an area where he resides. Even Kenjaku showcased this before the Culling game, a rift between reality and dreams where he contacted players. Similarly, Mahito did the same thing. In chapter 271, Mahito meets Sukuna after his passing and tells him due to his innate ability, he resides himself within the samsara cycle. He's in the pathway where souls walk. and this means everyone who dies or comes to life can interact with him. I mean, even Yuka mentioned the cycle of rebirth before facing Dabura, connecting the plot even more. Now, Mahito's technique, it could have unlocked the 10 shadows in Yuka. After all, Sukuna revealed that curse techniques reside in the prefrontal cortex in the brain against Gojo. So, if Iori truly believed that the next generation needed to be stronger at any cost, it's not hard to imagine him searching for a solution for his children's defect that would be in his eyes. Yuka's brain damage could be the result of her father doing a binding vow by making a deal with the devil himself to get what he wanted. Especially when you look at chapter 6, there is no solution for Yuka's cancer, no understanding of what's going on, and they haven't even heard of this illness before. And that could be because Mahito affected the soul, which makes sense of everything. Remember that Kenjaku used idol transfiguration on a massive scale to start the Culling game. He targeted people who already had dormant curse techniques but lacked the brain structure to use jujutsu. He literally rewired their brains so their techniques could awaken, such as Higuruma. And in the end, Iori's argument with Yuji and him saying it doesn't matter, it could be our boy telling him what he thinks is wrong, and his children being the way they are shouldn't matter to him. Because Yuji once said to Sukuna, after all, we were born with the burden of a curse. Even if no one else accepts it, he's willing to go on living with him. So Iori's role should be to nurture his kids with what was given, rather than pushing an ideal onto them by force. And guess what, people? This makes perfect sense, and the writing is amazing because this generational trauma connects to Maru. Well, let's not forget that he's an inverse of Surigi's situation, and that's Gege's way of showing how curses come in all forms. Maru's curse is having a present father who left him religious ideals that haunt him with an obsession, while Surigi's is having an absent father who left him with scars and curiosity. So people are missing the point with Maru's ideal to be a warrior. It makes way more sense when you see what the culture drilled into him, because on their planet, Lumerian women can't wield curse energy, so their men have to be warriors by default. Their jujutsu is literally framed as a gift from the gods, and real men protect women and children because they can't bear the burden. So Maru is trying to be worthy of a holy title his whole society worships. That's why he can't back down on Sugiri's challenge, and is not going to give up on the 50,000 refugees on the ship. But let's not forget, Yuji is slowly becoming the only answer to all their problems. Yuka is already in a state of suspended death. The ritual would not end unless Dabura is killed or Mahoraga is destroyed. If either of those things happen, Yuka's death is guaranteed. This parallels what happened to Megami in chapter 117, but Sukuna used RCT to save him. However, that's not the only time we have seen someone be saved from death. It happened to Yuji twice. First when Sukuna ripped his heart out and then revived him, and later when Yuta killed him and used RCT to bring him back. All of this links to a huge plot point fans believe will happen. Yuji is going to save the day by helping Yuka live and taking on Dabura or Mahoraga depending on the outcome. This would parallel Sukuna's Fuga moment perfectly, as Yuji would farm a hype moment and aura by displaying his new powers immediately upon arrival. I still believe that Maru's harmony technique can also come into play to locate Yuji, because Sukuna's finger is still holding up a barrier, and that can be used to resonate with his essence to find Yuji anywhere in the world to help humanity. That would fit the writing of his character development to believe in coexistence and peace again, putting aside his obsession and curse to be a warrior. Like bro, I'm gonna crash out if Yuji got hyped this much and doesn't appear once in this sequel. Gege literally drew how prime Yuji looks like, and it's depressing. Look at his eyes. He's looking around 20 years old and more more like his Uncle Sukuna. Give him a break, give him a hypernora moment, you know what I'm saying? And at this point, Yuji understands something most sorcerers never will. The world is in a balance. When Gojo was born, the world responded by creating stronger special grade curses, right? And when Sukuna rose, humanity was forced to produce monsters of its own just to survive, where they all became special grade. So when Yuji says it doesn't matter how strong sorcerers are, he's implying that chasing strength is meaningless because the Jujutsu system will always find a way to correct itself. The wheel will never stop turning, and that's why in the sequel, I think Yuji wants to break it. He's searching for a plan to eliminate curse energy altogether, just like Yuki was researching in the original manga. She believed the only way to end curses was by eliminating its source. She identified that curse energy is produced by humans through negative emotions, right? Which means killing curses is only a temporary fix because new ones will always be born, and Yuji has been witnessing this for 6 bloody decades. This also ties directly into Yuji's own problem of being immortal. Yuji wants to die, and he wants a good death surrounded by friends without regrets. And to do that, he needs to break the wheel with the others, just like Yuka and Cross promised to each other and bloody mentioned. Chapter 17 then picks up the fight between friends immediately. Maru's technique of chaos and order disrupting physics has Tsurigi on the back burner. He doesn't understand the technique yet and almost falls off a building. He can't even get close. Maru then immediately jumps in to stab and is launching him all over the building like a play toy, but eventually he figures out a counter and makes both of them lose their swords. But as they race to pick them up, they clash once again. However, Sugiri's sword is caught between Maru's blade, trapping him inside using his physical strength against him. With that, he busts him outside and they have a chat mid-air before the final blow. Sugiri thinks to himself that he might have won, and even if there was a 1% chance that Yuka can be saved, then he would always bet on that, just like Maru would for his own cause. Now this beautifully connects to another plot point from the original manga that you cannot forget. Remember that Kenjaku stated, life is a gamble, and people who do not take a step in action whilst looking at death in front of their eyes, they are absolutely detestable. Even Hakari believed that everyone in life gambles on something. This is their fever of trying to change things in some way, but the true manner of dealing with this fever is by gambling. He thinks that society tramples on people who can't bet big enough, meaning people who can't take chances to progress their goal. This is something even Gojo mentioned to Yuta whilst they were training, mentioning the fever once again. So this is something that we find Cross, Yuka and Sugiri doing, right? And it will tie into how they will make Maru have a change of heart to gamble on coexistence once again, since his ass is about to get beaten into a pulp. Because although Sugiri gets completely destroyed, multiple cars thrown at him, explosions, a whole ass building collapsing and dashed into the ground, if this dude was any other human without heavenly restriction, then he would have been finished. Now the look of despair on Maru's face tells it all. Obviously my guy doesn't want his friend to suffer by his hands and he doesn't want to kill him, but Maru's love for his brother and his duty as a warrior supersedes everything. However, Sugiri is not done. He thinks about his father's ideology of valuing strength and power. He accepts that being born great and having a great death is something to be proud of, but he can't accept that way of thinking. Like Yuji, who told Sukuna how every life and memory is precious, he thinks that even if a person's life is ordinary and vague, as long as their everyday existence was out there, then that was enough. This testament is a reference to his father, who saw himself as trash, became depressed, and then disappeared. Now at this moment, Yuta's ring on his neck starts glowing. Curse energy floods out. Sugiri thinks his grandpa is here, but no, it's the queen of curses, Rika. She disappointedly tells him how takes after Maki, calling her that woman, reminding us how Rika was obsessed with Yuta and was jealous of Maki that she ended up with him, marrying, smashing, all that good shit. Now I do want to mention that this panel right here, oh my god, hypernora moment, absolutely fire. Now eventually they form a contract, and because of Yuta's requests and their undying love, Rika was told to help the progeny of his bloodline. So she does just that and tells Sugiri to accept the deal. And with one word, he becomes a special grade. Just like we had predicted, he has become one of the strongest sorcerers to exist. Though he doesn't have a full restriction like Koji and Maki, his body is insanely strong. And now with Rika's immense curse energy reserve, he has become completely broken. Rika merges with his body, showing us a new transformation we haven't seen. And before Maru can blink twice and say anything, questioning who this new challenger is, Rika gives him a quick right, sending the Sumerian flying, busted all open. Now remember, one of Rika's ability is curse technique storage, so whatever Yuta probably copied is probably still in there, so he has access to all of that now too. And there's also the curse tool storage, which has all these special grade weapons sitting inside of her, so he is completely busted and we cannot even fathom what the hell is going to happen next. Now everything is adding up. Sugiri will defeat Maru now and convince him that with Rika now back, they can use RCT on Cross and save it. Remember, Rika was able to use positive energy to heal Yuta, and in chapter 269 it was absolutely an insane feat because he explained how Rika was able to heal and even sustain his dead ass body whilst his brain wasn't in it. Now currently the level of RCT the Jujutsu sorcerers have is weak. In the sequel in chapter 13, the healer literally called herself trash whilst she was trying to heal Usami and Cross. But with Rika, things have now changed. Not only can she heal Cross, but even Yuka. Remember that this fight is happening before Mahoraga and Dabra, which means once this is over, they will still have time to save her. We can't forget that there's another option for these people. The Sumerians can manage the Kalyan in Tokyo and will be allowed to reside there, which was an option that they had. And with the condition that no curse can leave the vicinity, it's a win-win for both parties. Rika is also a Kalyan, remember, according to them, since she's a cursed spirit. Imagine she kills another cursed spirit in front of them. They're gonna be thinking, wait a second, why is Kalyan killing Kalyan? And then they're gonna question their beliefs and realize, wait a second, the humans were telling the truth, this is something else. Another point to make is that Sugiri directly parallels Megami, who failed to save his own sister. These two characters mirror each other, but their outcomes diverge. Now to enjoy more peak fiction, watch this video about Eren doing over 8 time loops in Attack on Titan, because I bet that you don't even actually understand the story.